Welcome back to Without Shortcuts. This is actually part 2 of a 2-part series we're doing. And in this video we are going to show you exactly how to finish up our bread pudding. Now the last video we did, we actually made the brioche that we're going to use for this bread pudding. It turned out absolutely wonderfully. You'll get to see a little bit of it when we start cutting it up here in a minute. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and hit the pause, go back, check that video because it's well worth it to get these kind of results. But if you've already seen that, we can move on.
All right, now like I said in the last video, you can use pretty much whatever bread you want to use to make a bread pudding. I mean, you could use a challah, you could use French bread, you could even use like a raisin bread if you really wanted to. But obviously, you know, we decided to go with brioche.
So this brioche is super light and flaky and tender and sweet. It's going to make a great bread pudding. So the first thing we're going to do is take and cut this up into about 1-inch sections. And then while it seems, a little bit off kilter, we actually want this to be a little bit stale. So once we get it cut up, we're going to put it on a baking sheet and put it in the oven for, just a couple minutes at 200 degrees just to get that texture that we're looking for the bread pudding. Ultimately, you're going to want to have about 6 cups of these bread chunks. So our bread is nice and dried out, got just a little bit of firmness to it, and we've got that into our prepared greased baking dish. And the next thing we need to do is throw together some custard to put over the top.
Right, so we're going to mix together some milk. And then we've got some eggs, sugar, a little cinnamon and nutmeg, some vanilla, and a little bit of melted butter. Now the nice thing with this custard is it's super easy. There's no additional steps. You can just throw everything in all at once and just mix the whole thing together.
All right. Take that, all whisk together, just goes right over the top of all that nice dried out brioche bread.
All right, and once you've got all the custard in with the bread, just take a spatula or a wooden spoon or whatever you've got and just kind of press everything down in there so that all of that bread gets down into the custard and really soaks it in.
Once that's pushed down and everything's submerged, you want to let this sit so that the custard really gets inside each piece of bread and you get full saturation and everything's ready to go. So while it's sitting and resting and sucking up all that flavor, we're going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 350 degrees. And once that heats up and this rests, we'll pop it into the oven for 50 to 55 minutes just so that it cooks everything all the way through. Have a little bit of jiggle at the end, but not crusty or burnt or anything like that. So just that right amount of play in it.
Now when you're making bread pudding, you can certainly feel free to add raisins, some other dried fruits, nuts. Chocolate chips are always a good addition. For ours, we went ahead and just left it simple. So it's been soaking long enough, our oven's preheated, so we're gonna go ahead and get this in there. And that's gonna go ahead and sit there for about 50 minutes or so.
So with that in the oven, we're gonna go ahead and throw together a nice little bourbon vanilla sauce to go over the top when we take it out.
So let's make some sauce. So I've got a stick of melted butter here in the saucepan, and we're just gonna add some sugar. And we'll throw in 1 egg and a little bit of vanilla. So we're going to whisk this all together. And you want to keep this on a real low heat. Don't let this come up to a simmer or a boil. Otherwise you end up with scrambled eggs in your sauce, and nobody wants that. Alright, so our sauce is thickened up. It's a nice golden color. And if you dip a spoon into it, it's thick enough to coat the back of a spoon. See how it makes a line like that? So that's how you know it's done. So we're going to shut the heat off. And then the last thing that goes into our vanilla bourbon sauce is the bourbon. So we'll give that a quick mix. And that is ready to go.
Okay, the bread pudding is done. Our sauce is done. The only thing that's left to do now is the payoff.
That's right. Got a nice big scoop of bread pudding here. There we go.
Standing. A nice, generous drizzle of our vanilla bourbon sauce.
You could also put a little bit of vanilla ice cream on here. That would also be delicious. But I don't think we want to wait for ice cream. So
please.
Here we go.
It's hot, warm, rich. That bourbon just gives it that nice dryness to it.
Yep.
But all the cinnamon, the nutmeg, just a little bit of spiciness.
Yep. You get all that custard soaked into that nice, light, airy bread. It's so incredibly rich. I don't think you could eat much more than what's right here.
This is about it. In fact, splitting this little piece is probably just fine with me. But I am more than happy to eat what's there because it is delicious.
Absolutely.
So please, I mean, give this one a try. It is a lot of work if you do the brioche from scratch, but absolutely worth it. I mean, there's a reason that we do this, and there's a reason that we do things like this without shortcuts, and it's because the outcome just absolutely spectacular.
100%. You can't beat it. So give it a try. Let us know how it goes down in the comments. Tag us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.